What is the scariest ride that you have ever been on? Possibly a roller coaster at Six Flags, Disneyland, or some other amusement park, right? Well, the scariest ride that I have ever been on was sitting in the back of a taxi in New Delhi, India. A couple of years ago, while sitting in this taxi, a thick layer of smog filled the air and made visibility only a couple yards. Vehicles seemed to just appear out of the smog, and the driver would veer left and right to avoid them. All the while, I was sitting in the back, frozen in terror. Then, all of a sudden, the red taillights of a truck appeared, and the driver slammed on the brakes. Our taxi skid to a halt just inches away from the truck in front of us. That was the first time that I experienced the dangers of smog. For those of you who do not know what smog is, it is created when fog combines with smoke and other atmospheric pollutants to create a dense, almost brownish layer of air that is extremely unhealthy to breathe. Experiencing this pollution angered me and showed me how much carbon dioxide we humans are dumping into our atmosphere. I was frustrated, so once I got back to the US, I set out to learn more about pollution. And soon, I realized that smog wasn't the only effect. Carbon dioxide from automobiles, factories, and power plants are melting the polar ice caps, which is in turn increasing sea levels. I learned that as carbon dioxide increases in our atmosphere, seawater becomes more acidic, which then kills coral. These coral are home to millions of species of fish, which feed almost 1 billion people on this earth. But this is probably old news to most of you. You've all seen the pictures of stranded polar bears and smokestacks dumping tons of greenhouse gases into our atmosphere. Yet at the end of the day, most of us forget about the changing climate because we have the privilege of doing so. But all around the world, there are already people who are suffering from the preliminary effects of climate change, such as the people in the Marshall Islands, whose homes are swept away by rising sea levels, or the Indian farmers, whose crops are completely destroyed due to extreme rainfall. These people don't have the privilege of forgetting about climate change because it affects them every day of their lives. What saddens me the most is that these people barely contribute any carbon dioxide to our atmosphere, and yet they are the ones that are paying the biggest price. After understanding all of this, I really wanted to get involved in a solution. I started out small and at my own home by trying to limit electricity usage, because electricity production is the largest emitter of greenhouse gases of any industry in the United States. But for me, turning off the lights more often or unplugging electronics wasn't enough. I wanted a source of clean, renewable energy powering my home, because whatever electricity I was using was still coming from fossil fuels and power plants. So I managed to convince my dad to invest in solar power. Having solar panels on my house for the past few months has really shown me how cool renewable energy is. No matter how much we use them, they can never run out. Let's take solar power as an example. Until the sun burns out in 5 billion years, solar power is useful. That means we have 5 billion years worth of electricity and energy waiting for us in the sky. It just seems laughable to use non-renewable resources such as coal and oil in comparison. But the sad reality is that our world runs on these fossil fuels, and the emissions from them are polluting our skies. Let's look at the emissions from this school, Phillips Academy, Andover, for example. We use about 13 million kilowatt hours of electricity annually. That is about enough electricity to power 1,350 homes for a year. And the carbon emissions are equivalent to burning 9,700,000 pounds of coal. But thankfully, we have initiatives and measures on this campus to work towards a sustainable future. But think of the carbon footprint of all of the high schools, middle schools, and colleges around the country. What if these places could be powered by renewable energies? Imagine the impact that would have on both the environment and on the minds of students around the country. But before we can install panels on schools around the country, the national mindset surrounding global climate change needs to be repaired. It should not be the subject of debate, because it has been proved countless times by scientists. Yet still, people like certain politicians and legislators, they claim that climate change isn't real. Lawmakers have even passed legislation to make rooftop solar power in Florida a scarcity. Florida is the Sunshine State. What we need is a culture shift in society. The politicians that run this country, they follow the will of the people. So if the people say that climate change is a central issue, they will have no choice but to address it. If we don't start acting and cutting back our emissions now, though, in just 25 years, we are going to reach the point of no return, at which global climate change becomes irreversible. Our society needs to stop debating and start acting before it is too late. In order to take action, we need leaders who can inspire a movement, and I believe that young people can be those leaders. In fact, I would go as far as to say that young people are the solution to global climate change. We are the future of the country, so if global climate change is an important issue for us, it will eventually become an issue for the nation. But we don't have to wait until we're adults to make a difference now. We are connected like no other generation because of the internet and social media. Whether it is the bottle flipping craze or beneficial trends like the ALS Ice Bucket Challenge, we have mastered the art of spreading the word. Now imagine if you took that level of connectivity and combined it with the credibility of scientific data. That right there is a powerhouse for change. So I urge you to go out in your community and take all of the scientific research we have and educate those who don't understand the severity of the situation. Get involved with sustainability projects or start those projects yourself. Enough is enough with the political rhetoric. Our generation of young people needs to start taking responsibility of the world it will soon inherit and make sure that the generations to come have a safe world to live in. In 100, in 200, in 300 years, I want people to still be able to see the beautiful blue sky that I see, and not some smoggy haze full of toxic pollution. We have just 25 years to make a difference. The time for change is now. Quoting the Cree Indian prophecy, only when the last tree has been cut down, the last fish caught, and the last stream poisoned, will we realize we cannot eat money. Thank you.